Well, good evening. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Great to see you. So, we're here to talk about the master plan. And you know, you really can't be a member of the FIT community and not be aware that we have space problems. Or issues, shall we say, space issues. We are a very small campus, cramped into a very tightly packed Manhattan block. And we accommodate 10,000 full and part-time students day and night, and not to mention the fact that we have probably over 1,700 faculty and staff. And unlike most colleges, the space that we need for our specialized programs goes beyond standard classrooms and lecture halls to include a multitude of large studios and labs and other kinds of very specialized spaces. So what we've been able to achieve with the space that we have is perhaps not a miracle, but it's close. So in part, that is a result of the kind of planning that a well-conceived campus facilities master plan will provide. Excuse me. And we've had several, the last of which was completed in 2005. So we use every nook and cranny in as creative a way as possible, and we've done that for the past 10 or 15 years, so that we now have a modern and attractive student dining hall. We have those spacious, well-lit labs on 3 floors of the Dubinsky Center. We have the beautiful new Academic Advisement Center. We have a wellness center. We have new student lounges. We have a renovated and modernized Haft Auditorium. For those of you who remember, just not too long ago, how gorgeous this was. We have the Great Hall and the Conference Center. Wasn't here a few years ago. And a continuing supply of renovated classrooms as well as a renovated staff and faculty dining room. We opened up a new residence hall, our first off-campus building, actually, which now allows us to provide housing for an additional 1,100 students. So we actually house about 2,300, I always like to call them other people's children, 24/7. They're really ours when they're here, all our little darlings, but there's 2,300 of them. So we've greened the campus with so many energy-saving improvements, including our green roofs that were cited by former Mayor Bloomberg for our efforts, and we have much more along those lines in the pipeline. But the fact is that our master plan was completed in 2005. And there have been changes in technology, the curricular landscape, and our strategic plan all mean that our needs have changed significantly since then, and it's really time to renew and to update the plan. And that's why we're here today. We want the new plan to support as much as possible the mission and vision of the college and our strategic plan that takes us, as we like to say, to 2020 and beyond. As you know, it's our way here at FIT to engage in college-wide projects of this nature with as much participation from the community as possible. So that's how we designed the last master plan, and that's how we'll go forward with this one as well. So we now have a director of space planning, June Eng, joined us recently. June is here in front, for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting her. June has been working diligently on the project. We've also engaged Patrick Curley here with us, an architect with the design firm Fletcher Thompson Architecture Engineering, and he is going to facilitate the planning process. So Mr. Curley has had 30 years experience working with colleges and universities as a planner and designer, and I am going to turn this podium over to him. I don't know if you're going to come up here, if you want to down there, but Patrick Curley.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I know the day is always full at FIT, and we welcome and appreciate your setting aside a little bit of time to dive into this important process. We hope that there's enough time at the end to have a little bit of sessions for questions, comments, and conversation. And one of the thoughts I'd like to leave you with today is that process of questioning, commenting, and conversing is really at the center of the master plan process. There's nobody here, not me, probably nobody in this room or even on the campus that knows exactly what to do in the next 5 years. We have ideas. There's great ideas out there. There's a lot of things that are on the table, but what we need now is an organized way of making decisions, and the master plan is really the vehicle for gathering all the information we need so that FIT can make the right decisions for the years to come. And the essence of gathering that information is questioning, commenting, and conversing. So I hope you leave here today with that in mind and engage your colleagues, friends, and neighbors in that process. As Dr. Brown said, this is your campus. It's not a sprawling, suburban, rural campus. You have a classic urban campus that's defined by the city grid, and you are essentially on 2 blocks, although Kaufman Hall is a breakaway from that, and even more recently, about to come online, is new space at 333 7th Avenue, just across 7th Avenue and up a block, which helps liberate and free up some space on the campus. So there are moves afoot to expand what has been the traditional bounds of the campus, but nevertheless, the blocks seem filled, and they are almost filled, not quite, but they are almost filled, and that gets to what Dr. Brown called the nooks and crannies, and nowhere else in the world but New York do nooks and crannies count for so much. So literally every square inch that you have on the campus, whether it's built or unbuilt, is really important. And the master plan, one of the key goals of the master plan is to make sure that you use every square inch to its best and highest purpose, and for as long in the future as we can all reasonably see. So, like anything that happens on a college campus, we start with a definition of our topic at hand, the master plan. And there's a lot of ways to talk about it, but here's a quick one, an organized set of decisions to implement an institution's evolving long-term strategy in service of its mission. You don't have to memorize that, but be aware of some really loaded and important words in there. The decision word, how do you make decisions? That's the essence of the master plan, is to give the institution all the facts and figures, desires, aspirations that will then ensure, to the extent that it's possible, that the right decision is made for the short term and for the long term. The other really loaded word is the word evolving. Things evolve. Things don't stand the same, stand still and remain the same. So how do you make decisions that don't just react to this week's or even this year's very important topic, but what's going to be important in 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years or longer? Because the mission is really a statement of purpose that lasts for a long, long time. So making decisions for that long-term mission and for short-term and long-term needs is at the heart of the master plan process. And just as a sense of a few things that will affect the institution, that are affecting every institution, changes in society, changes in the economy, changes in demographics, knowledge and technology. Each one of those we could spend many hours debating and talking and even wringing our hands about the impact that it has on what we all do day to day, what happens in the classroom, what happens in office space, what happens on the campus, who comes to the campus, how do they pay for it, how do you pay for it. It seems like an almost impossible puzzle to sort out, but we will sort it out, and we will sort it out with your help and with a lot of conversation and debate internally. Just a word about the mission. The mission is really at the center of all things. Any discussion about the future of the campus finds its way back to the strategic plan and ultimately back to the mission and vision. And just as an example of how complex but also rich the mission is, at the center of the mission is a phrase that says, preparing students for professional excellence in design and business. And almost every word there is freighted with great meaning and great potential, but also great decision-making required for how those words will be seen in the future. Preparing, which is really an expanded version of instruction, because you learn things in a classroom, you learn things outside of the classroom. So what does preparation really mean in 2014? It's very different than what preparation was in 10 years ago or 20 years ago. What will preparation really mean in the years to come? That's a great question. Even the word students. Who are the students? Who is coming to FIT? It used to be very local. It's become regional. It's become national. And FIT is certainly an internationally known and respected force. So who is coming here to seek that preparation? And what will the professions that seek that excellence demand of the students? So all those words are really critical words that will come up again and again as we discuss the master plan, and we welcome all of your input in understanding exactly what those words mean today and what they will mean in the future. You should know that the master planning process is not a standalone exercise. Dr. Brown alluded to the past master plans. There will be future master plans. Things don't stand still. And one thing we can say, one thing we've noticed is that the pace of change in the last 20 years, certainly the last 10 years, is actually accelerated. Things always change, but the actual rate of that change has become so fast and so quick that it really demands constant attention. And the master planning process is part of a series of planning, intertwined and coordinated planning efforts. At the base of it all is the accreditation, the basic approval that you are an institution that can open its doors for business. Strategic planning, we'll talk about in a minute in a little more detail, but that really lays out a plan for how you will achieve your mission as an institution. And there are specific goals about that. Budget planning is just what it sounds like. Everything costs something. Money has to come from somewhere, and money for no institution is infinite. Decisions have to be made about what the most effective way is to spend the money, and master planning process will help understand some of the big pieces of that. But even without a master plan, you have day in, day out, year in, year out decisions that must be made about the facilities and where the money should go to be the most effective. And master planning is really the bridge between the strategic plan and creating the facilities that you need to create your mission, so to fulfill your mission. So that is really what we will be doing in the coming 7 or 8 months is again, providing you with the data, the information that's necessary so you make the right decision, make the best use of your budget and the best use of all of your nooks and crannies, square inches, square feet, and facilities that you have at your disposal. 1995, 2005, and now 2014, and then probably at some point in the future you'll have to do it again, and it may not be you, but it'll be somebody doing this again and again, trying to fulfill the mission, further the mission, and make FIT ever better. So in the strategic plan, which you should all have it right by your bedside or on your desk. It's a really important document. It has everything in there that you need to know about the big ideas that are driving the success of the mission at present. There's essentially there are three goals. There's goal one is ensuring academic and creative excellence, and the master plan, it will ask the question, what do you need to be successful in doing that in terms of physical facilities, not just classrooms, but the entire campus? Goal two is being an innovation center for creative industries worldwide. So what is it that the outside world, is demanding of students in the industry and the professions to be excellent? What does that mean you need to do with your physical facilities and even your curriculum and then your physical facilities to become that innovation center? And provide an empowering student experience in a cohesive community. So that's a big umbrella, but what that really means is the experience of being at FIT for a student is not just in a classroom, it's not just showing up for class, and then leaving the classroom. When you think of it, really, most of a student's time is spent not in a classroom, but outside the classroom. So I think now we can say in 2014 that the learning doesn't stop when you go from the classroom to the hallway. It's really a continuum of experience, social engagement, where you get knowledge, how you collaborate with other people to share that knowledge, develop that knowledge, bring it back to the classroom for further discussion, refinement. It's really a continuum of experience and knowledge and growth. And how do we make use of this campus, including the exterior spaces, by the way? Those are really intensively used spaces. How do we make use of all the spaces, all the assets of the campus to create that cohesive community experience for the students? So, the process. This is the second town hall meeting, but it's not the beginning of the project. We really started back in the spring, and I'll talk a little bit about the schedule in just a second. But as I said, that conversation, questions, and comments are really what we need to get from the community. So we're trying to bring out all the tools at our disposal for that purpose. There will be a survey that goes out, and we're talking now about the different formats that the survey will take and the different media that the survey will come out on, so that we can question very pointedly certain topics that will give us data that's not anecdotal, although there are a lot of anecdotes, but data that we can crunch. We can make not predictions, but at least we can say this is what a large group of people have said about any particular topic. There's a master plan website that's in process, so look for that on MyFIT. They'll give you access to that, so there'll be updates on that as the process unfolds. There will be user group interviews. Those are being sort of hashed out now as to what the groups are and the numbers of meetings and the format for the meetings and all that. And again, we want not only survey information, we want to hear face-to-face what the issues, opportunities, problems, challenges, and good things are for the campus. We are in the process of discussing institutional growth, a critical piece of any institution's idea about where they'll be in 5 or 10 years. Even changing an institution, growing by 1% or 1.5%, 2% a year doesn't sound like a big number, but after 5 years, 10 years, suddenly there's a lot more people, a lot more students that are here. You need faculty, you need classrooms, you need to accommodate those students if that is your plan. So understanding that number is important. The curriculum, heart and soul of the experience here. What is the curriculum? The curriculum of 2014 isn't the curriculum of 1990, and it's going to change yet again going forward. So we need to understand where the curriculum is going, what's up and coming, what is growing, what's staying the same, and that will ultimately drive what kind of classrooms, instructional space, academic support spaces you have in the future. Obviously, no one can predict it perfectly, so flexibility for changing as things evolve will be an important factor into the master plan. And we'll look at benchmarks, which means looking at other institutions, how have they solved problems, their academic issues, how have they looked in the future, how have they adapted to change, built-in flexibility, and what standards they have for instructional space, office space, academic support space, and the like, so you understand where you are in the universe of campuses that are similar to FIT. So the schedule, I've mentioned that we started back in the spring, and the way you always start these projects is by asking for everything that's been done before, and it's amazing to get what looks like an ancient document and realize that it's only 5 or 6 years old, and you know, even faxes, things that seem like they're from the Stone Age, it really wasn't that long ago. We were laughing and saying the iPhone came out in 2007. It seems like it's been here forever because it's had such an impact. And seniors, fourth-year students here now, in their high school senior year, didn't have iPads. They didn't exist. So just think of what's happened in the last 4 years that has changed radically the way we That way we gather, share, and look at information. So we got a lot of paper, in other words, past plans, past reports, past studies, and that's great. So we have an idea of where the trajectory has come from to where FIT is now in terms of space and a lot of numbers, data, reports, and thinking to date. We were looking to do the meetings and interviews during the month of October, maybe trickling into November a little bit, but not later than that. So towards the end of the year, November into December, will be us looking at all the data that we've gathered, crunching the numbers, coming to some preliminary conclusions about what the community has said, and beginning to put together some thoughts about the plan itself. This is the first of 3 series of town hall meetings. They'll always be in pairs, just so we can get as many people to the town hall meetings and we can talk to as many people as we can. We will be checking in February, giving you an update as to where we are, what progress has been made, what ideas are out there, so you can check in again there. But also remember that there'll be updates on the website as well. And then as we near the end of the process in the spring of 2015, look for another town hall series of sessions in April. So we're looking to wrap things up by the spring of 2015, and there'll be we'll discuss how the master plan gets disseminated or advertised. But mark your calendars certainly for those town hall meetings and updates interim that'll appear on the website. So we always like to go into a project looking ahead and saying what is it you actually want to achieve out of it. And there are a lot of things, but these are the ones that I think come to mind, particularly for us. The implementation of the strategic plan is further rollout of achieving its goals is certainly one of the key aspects of the master plan, and making specific recommendations, bricks and mortar recommendations, if you will, about how the physical campus can better itself to achieve the strategic plan goals. One of the great things a plan process like this can do is create a campus consensus. It should do that. It's not to say there won't be debate, discussion, maybe even argument, but in the end, I think everyone should feel that they've taken part in a great undertaking and they've moved the institution forward in a very positive way. And there should be a great consensus about that. And I hope that's celebrated by everyone that takes part in the process. But the main thing for the master plan is to define needs. And out of those needs will come decisions about projects and what things need to happen in what order. And that's part of the sequencing of the master plan. But one of the biggest and broadest one is enhancing the student experience. What's it like to be here as an FIT student? What's it like to be here as a residential student versus a commuter student? Whoever you are, whatever degree you're here for, or course you're here for, it should be a terrific experience. And part of that has to do with the physical surroundings you're in, what happens in the individual areas, and the master plan will help make some recommendations about how to make that the best experience possible. We know there's space issues, and not the least of which is the space for the faculty. And so that will be one of the specific areas of focus on the master plan, is to understand how to improve not only possibly the quantity of space, but the character of the space, even the adjacency of the spaces. Are your spaces even in the right location to be the most effective for the faculty and the students? We want to look very closely at the instructional space and understand how that space, its size, but also its configuration and its character supports the curriculum. Is it really doing the best job it can to providing the best academic result for the curriculum as it stands now and as it will be looking in the crystal ball 5 years and 10 years down the road? Technology is a constant driver of updating spaces, not only the technology that's in there, but also the ways in which students and everyone in the community gets information. A classroom is not just the only place you go to get information, and technology really makes any spot on the campus a potential learning space. So we need to understand the impact of technology as best as we can and how that will affect the campus. We want to make sure, like anything in the city, that it's a secure, comfortable environment. So we'll be talking about how we can improve and enhance security as we would with any campus, whether it's in the city, in the suburbs, or in the country. And in the end, it's about the FIT brand, and the brand word is used a lot in a lot of different contexts. But you do have a terrific brand. I can tell you from looking at a lot of campuses, one of the great signs of a healthy and vigorous and exciting brand is who shows up and how long do they stick around. I mean, you can say that for anything. And the fact of the matter is that people show up at FIT, and people, most importantly, people stick around. Your graduation rate, which is a sign of how long people stick around, is significantly higher than most public and private institutions. So that's something you should be proud of. And while you may recognize problems, issues with what you have here, there's something here that is of tremendous value and is tremendously attractive to not only getting students, but also retaining students for being here. So people are passionate about FIT, and we hope that the master plan will not only increase that passion, but also further it for the years and hopefully the decades to come. So with that, that's my flyby of the master plan process. What we've done is set up some microphones here. We'd love to hear any comments, questions, or conversations you have. Don't feel shy. You can come down to the microphones. There will be other opportunities to make yourselves known, but we'd love to take. I'd love to try and address any questions or comments you may have right now. Any takers? We offered free coffee at Guy and Gallard for the question at the last one, and that got a hand right there. Yes. The question is how much of past, I assume you mean FIT master plans, by SHOP, yes. I'd say quite a lot. The biggest change for me is looking at it, and what I've read so far is technology, and technology has had a gigantic impact. And as you look through that plan, I think there's a lot that we will be taking, either validating, updating it, but we're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from a blank sheet of paper. So I'd say quite a bit. Yes, sir. It definitely is, and it's just to summarize the question is how much thought is being given or will be given to the idea of expanding the actual physical campus off of the traditional two-block kind of precinct, and I think that's sort of a big institutional question. It's 333, the move to 333 is an example that it can be done. So that's a strategy. And I wouldn't say we shouldn't look at that strategy, but the rents are not going to go down. So and by the way, the amount of square inches, there are a lot of buildings we look at that seem to fill every nook and cranny of the campus. You have not built to the maximum allowed by law, so there is square footage left. But as a matter of institutional policy, we'll have to discuss whether moving off the campus is something that's worth talking about. Yes? to summarize the question, which was asked at the first town hall meeting. So it must be a good question. They're all good questions, but the question, as I understand it, is has any thought been given to taking that 7th Avenue facade, the front of the school, and really making it more of a welcoming or transparent face to the community? And well, no thought has been given to it yet, but I'm sure everyone, including myself, our office is a block away, so I pass it twice a day and have the same thoughts myself. So I think that's something worth talking about. In fact, every campus, whether you're in the country or in the city, it has the same discussion about getting beyond the brick wall and the wrought iron gate of the old campus that said you're on the campus, you're off the campus, there's no in between. Well, there's a lot of in between, and there should be a way where the community and the institution somehow come together. Maybe it's just a line of sight, but so I think there's an opportunity there for engaging the community and vice versa that's worth having a great conversation about. Anyone else? Yes. That'll be talked about. We've already had casual conversations about that kind of center of focus, and just in walking around, there's a lot of nooks and crannies that are where you see students here and there, but there seems like there's an opportunity to have more of a focused center like that. Some campuses build entire buildings just for that. So understanding where that would go, whether it's a dispersed activity or whether it's focused in one particular location, that's a great conversation. So please come and engage us more about that, because we want to hear about that. Thank you. Yes. I agree, and so the conversation about meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, happens on every campus. I've done work at Fordham and St. John's, and they're both different flavors of Catholicism, but they recognize the need that they need to recognize a very broad constituency of their students for that exact reason. So I think that those are great topics to focus in on. Thank you. Yes, back here. I know in the previous master plan, there's definitely an analysis of what remains in your legal kind of area that you can build by law or by asking for special permission. So there's been some discussion. There's been even some ideas about specifically what would go on above or new construction. So that's one part of the old master plan that we'll be looking at to either validate, update, modify, but confirm in some way. So those are still on the table for the moment. Yes, over here. The question was whether the 333 space, through 7th Avenue space, it will definitely free up space. I'm not part of that conversation as to how that space will be used. So I can't answer the space, but I know somebody that can. Thank you. Yes? Well, we're at the beginning, so the answer to that would be not yet. So, but all those questions about has there been a discussion yet, and the answer is no, but there will be. And so one of the things that I ask you and the people, we have a steering committee, is to, I can ask questions till I'm blue in the face, but they may not be relevant to you. So we need to, one of our tasks is to find out what are the good questions. So the questions I'm hearing, I don't have answers for yet, but what I'm getting from this is that these are good questions. And that's what we want to have in front of us is what are the good questions. Yeah, Sherry. Yes. Right. Correct. Right. Yes, over here. So if I understand the question, it's will there be the opportunity to put on the table different ideas about technology specifically or academic use of spaces? Well, yes, we're going to, what we're doing right now is putting together a list of what we're calling the user group meetings. So those are, survey is one thing, but we're also having user group meetings that we're scheduling, and we're trying to figure out who should be there because it's almost impossible to interview every single person on the campus, so we have to come up with an organized way to get all this good information. So the answer is yes, there'll be ample opportunity to get to provide input through departments and other ways to make sure that it gets onto the radar screen. Thank you. Yes? There's always a possibility. Yes, yes, yes. I'd say right now, I mean, to further to the comments we heard, there's nothing off the table yet. There's no boundary to what can be considered or not considered. So this is the time to get the things on the table. And that's why we're having the town hall meetings. That's why we have the surveys, user group meetings. So we're really trying very hard to make sure we understand what all the issues are. So if that's an issue, then I would encourage you to use your voice, the website, whatever it is, and make sure that that issue stays there and gets the scrutiny that it deserves. Yes, sir. I would look to the departments also for some input on that. To me, there's two categories of information. One is a very broad check-in with, I would call it a macro scale. How much gross square feet is there per full-time equivalent student? Those are kind of very basic numbers, just to have a quick check as to how deficient or where you are at a very large scale. Then there are, I would encourage everyone to, and we can find them too, but I would also find out what's relevant to you in terms of specific instructional modes, types of classrooms, breakout spaces, project rooms, these types of configurations of space that get away from the you're in a classroom, you're in a corridor, and that's the world. That's not the way the world works anymore, I don't think. Having said that, there's innumerable ways of then having students engage with small teams or with their instructor in other ways, and you can go to practically any campus and get some ideas. So I would query department-specific folks to say, talk to your colleagues on other campuses, and if you need a field trip to CUNY, and we could do that and look at their new John Jay building that we worked on. So there's a lot of ideas out there. The question is what makes sense for FIT, and I'd love to have that conversation and come to some conclusions on that. Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Good. Well, thank you. I look forward to talking with all of you, either by survey, face-to-face. But as I said in the beginning, please talk it up with your colleagues, your friends, your neighbors, and start the conversation, because we want to be the beneficiaries of all your comments, conversations, and your questions. Thank you very much.